What if I told you that there was a way to get married so fast that it feels illegal? Let's break down how that looks right now in this video. Hey fam, welcome back to our channel. My name is Jumoke Win, and I'm one half of Win at Love. My husband and I, we coach single Christian women to meet, date, and marry eligible Christian men. And if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, make sure that you do subscribe and you hit that bell so that you can get more notifications. Okay, so let's talk about the roadmap of how to get married so fast that this feels like illegal. Number one is you have to shed your old identity. Okay, that's the biggest thing. I remember when I started on my Okay, so as you guys know, I went from single for 6 years to married in 6 months. People hear the 6 months part and they don't hear the 6 years part. And I want to condense my 6 years because the 6 years was what set me up to get married in 6 months. Because really, I was on the dating market for only 2 months before I met my husband, and then he married me 6 months later. But there was a whole journey before that, about 5 years, right, before I actually met my husband. And when I got to college and I had my first two relationships, my first relationship, I wasn't a believer. And then I came to Christ, got into another relationship, had this back and forth between trying to get sanctified and trying to stay in the relationship. That relationship ended. I was devastated. But after that relationship ended, I had a rapid period of growth. And I remember in the relationship, one thing that was like I was two-stepping in was trying to shed my old identity, because I had just got saved a few months prior and I was going through this major internal transformation that it was like I was outgrowing the relationship. This is all in hindsight, but I could not actually grow past the capacity of the relationship. It's strange to explain, because I remember once I turned 21, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be a woman. I want to be a woman of God. I want to do this. I want to do that. And my boyfriend at the time, he was like, you already are a woman, right? Like, he met me how he met me. And the person he met me was not even the woman that I was becoming anymore. So that was why it was a constant kind of internal thing for me. So I want you ladies, instead of focusing on the goal of getting married, I want you to focus on the type of person that you need to become to get that outcome. Because too many women, especially the women who come to us to get help to date for marriage, they're like, can you get me married by the end of this year? And I was like, that's such a strange thing to ask, because one, you can't determine when you get married, but two, it's all about you and your effort. And instead of asking that, can we get you that result? Because we can get you that result, but will you be the type of person that will shift to become the type of person that gets that result? That's the question you have to ask yourself, because a lot of women want marriage, but they don't want to be godly wives. Hello, they don't want to be godly wives. They don't want to be godly mothers. They don't want to be helpmeets to men, but yet they think that they're owed and they're deserving of marriage just because. And they're so focused on their entitlement to marriage that they're not becoming the type of woman that attracts good men, that attracts godly men. And they're just so focused on gimme, gimme. Okay. And no wonder why marriage rates, they're hovering around 30%, and more men are opting out of the dating market, because they're seeing how women are moving. Women are moving with such a strong sense of entitlement. They want everything from men and they want to give nothing in return. It's just gimme, gimme, gimme. You shouldn't have your own desires. I don't care how you think. They're unsubmissive, they're uncouth, they're classless. And I'm not saying all women are, but it's just, this is just becoming a rising trend amongst women, that women are come into the dating market with their hand out, but they're not the type of woman that most men would want to lay their life down for. That's a problem, because most men, they'll tell you, oh, I will get married, or I will even be a provider for the right type of woman. I hear that constantly from men, but that right type of woman is becoming increasingly more and more rare. Okay, it's because women just, because unfortunately, because of toxic feminist propaganda, women have drunk a lot of the feminist Kool-Aid, and they have not prepared to be a good wife, and they were not raised to be good wives to men. Okay, so you have to ask yourself, are you a good wife, or are you merely just a good time? Women never consider what the man wants, and are you his dream girl? Are you the type of woman, right? Women want a high value man, but it's ask yourself, am I a high value woman? Have I poured into myself, into my own, have I done the internal work? Have I poured into my own femininity? Do I have equal leverage to the type of man that I'm asking to give me what I'm asking for? Do I have a lot of bargaining power? Okay, so you have to do the internal work. This doesn't mean that you can't get married unless you're perfect. It just means that you have to go into the marriage market with a healthy expectation that what you're asking for is not common, and there are reasons why it's not common. And are you willing to be the type of person that weathers the storm? It's like you can keep sitting here and praying and asking God for $1 million, or you could be the type of person that can make $1 million, right? So too many people are the first one and they're not the second one. Okay, so you have to shed your old identity, because who you are today may not be the type of person you need to be to get married. And it's not about, and comes in twofold. It's either your character, or B, putting in the necessary effort, taking the necessary risk so that you can get married. Because some women, like I said, they want to put in minimal effort and get maximum result. They lack social awareness. They don't want to put in any effort into meeting and talking to men, and that might be something you have to shed. If you're someone who's lazy, if you're someone who fears rejection, that part of your identity you have to shed in order to get to the next level. Number 2, I got to move on, is to discover your standards. This is big because a lot of women, you need to have some type of roadmap before you actually try to get married, because what you accept is what you allow. Character standards are three things. One, it's character. Okay, a man's character. Values. What type of values are you looking for? And it really should only be like 3 top characters, 3 top values, and how do you want him to treat you? What women do is they try to build this entire list of 100 things, but 100 things are not all equally important to you. You need to rank everything, right, from 1 to 10 and eliminate 7, right? What is the top 3 character traits that you're looking for in a man? Not 10 traits, the top 3 that is the most important to you. Not to your pastor, not to your girlfriends, but to you. What's the most important thing? Then it's values. What are your top 3 values? Write down 10 values and eliminate the 7. What are your top values? And then how do you want him to treat you? Too many women are caught up with preferences, which we'll talk about next, but you can't just accept any type of man and he treats you like basura. Okay, so this is your compass to when it comes to vetting men, and this might take some thinking and some active dating to discover, because sometimes women, they just don't know, and they have to get on the dating market, talk to different men in order to know what are their standards and what are they going to accept and what are they not going to accept as far as how a man treats them, his character, and his values. Now, then number 3, understand your preferences. Okay, so everyone has preferences, but you need to know your own preferences, because for a lot of women, since they don't understand their own preferences, that is their own stumbling block. Too many women lie to themselves and say, oh, I just want a godly man, which is a lie, right? If you just wanted a godly man, you can marry just anyone at your church. Why don't you marry the usher? Why don't you marry the drummer? Because I'm not attracted to them. Okay, so then you're looking for a hot boy. Like, it's better that you just explore your own shadow, explore your own preferences, stop lying to yourself, stop trying to be all holy, mighty, and uppity, up and righteous, and just be honest with your internal biases. Because if you don't know your internal biases, you could be missing out on opportunities that are right in front of you because you're not being honest. So I always say pick 3 high, pick 3 low, and understand the deeper why of each preference. Because each preference a lot of times is superficial, but there's a deeper why to that preference that you have to get down to. For example, I tell people like one of my top preferences was height. Now, obviously, I understand that is a superficial preference. Height will not make or break a good marriage. It will not, right? But why did I want height? I wanted height because I liked the sense of safety that I felt when I was around a man who was tall. I liked feeling like a baby girl. I liked the assurance that my man can lift me up, not just in prayer, okay, but he can physically lift me up. If something was to go down, he can toss me over his shoulder and we can exit whatever. I like the fact that I had to look up to him because it was a subconscious, to me, it was something subconscious of submission and headship. Now, obviously, that doesn't make any type of sense, right? That doesn't make it, again, I can say all that and it sounds so stupid, but I knew why. And I'm saying for you, you have to understand the why of your own preference. If you're like, I need a man who has a degree. Why? Because sometimes when you get down to the root of your preference, the root of your preference is more of a core, it's a core want that you are looking for. It's not necessarily a superficial thing. For me, I wanted a man that I could look up to. I wanted a man that I could respect. I wanted a man who I felt safe with. That's why I wanted height. For you, you might want a degree man because to you it symbolizes security and stability. That's fair. But get to the root of that, because what you really want is not necessarily the degree. You want security. Okay, but you have to know these things for yourself, because if not, you're going to be moving crazy, right? When it comes to men, you're going to be turning down really good men because you're looking for this very superficial thing and you're not understanding the why of that superficial thing. You understand? Because I knew those are preferences. I'm like, at the end of the day, even if I met a man who was not as tall as what I wanted, and I could not get a tall man with good character that treated me well, it's not like I would never marry. I'm going to cut off being married just because I'm holding to this preference. No, I still knew what I was looking for. So if a man could give me that outside of his height and everything else was aligned, I would be more considerate of him. If he was closer to my height, if he was close, I would still have to be like, okay, there's the attraction thing. But if he had that macho man, if he was super masculine, I might give him a shot, right? It just depends. If my type did not like me, if I was not my type's type, then I probably would have opened my options. But anyways, and the number 4 is to make marriage a priority. Most women, ironically, this is probably the biggest thing that just has shocked me as a dating strategist, is that most women do not want marriage. You would think that they do, but most women, they want status. Most women want comfort. Most women want acceptance, but they don't want what marriage actually is. They want the wedding. They want the bells and whistles. They want the perfect man. They want the arm candy. They want the bragging rights, but they don't actually want to come into covenant with the imperfect man. They don't want to come into covenant with the man that they feel like they're settling for. That's not attractive enough. That's not this enough. That's not that. Again, you don't actually want marriage. You want a fantasy. You want whatever Cinderella sold you, whatever Disney has sold you, that's what you're looking for. And we can usually tell when women don't make marriage a priority, because when it's time to put the rubber to the road, when the rubber meets the road, and it's time to do the actual practical work to get married, unfortunately, most women who come to us and they just start dragging their feet because they didn't realize that they had to do any type of work. They didn't think that they had to do the internal work, the external work, the active dating, the talking to men. I don't know, maybe some women thought that, okay, I'm just going to walk outside, meet a man, or he's just going to come to my house and be FedExed to my house, and I'm going to have to do nothing. I'm not going to have to change. I'm not going to have to face rejection, possible rejection. I'm just going to exist, and the perfect man is just going to poof from thin air and find me. And it's really hard if you're coming from that mentality to come into reality, because when you actually have to come into reality, you have to make marriage a priority, because women are prioritizing everything else but getting married. At some point, you have to prioritize settling your home. Hey, I need to settle my home. But a lot of women, they're just lagging behind. And the last thing to do so that you can get married so fast is to make a system for dating, okay? You don't have to keep reinventing the wheel. Sometimes you just need a certain type of system. Okay, how often am I going to get on dating apps? How often am I going to go outside? How often am I going to just approach a man and just talk to them? Not being flirtatious, not being thirsty and desperate, but just hi, right? Just introducing myself. Hey, I like your shoes. Where'd you get it? Just being open. How many times am I going to go outside? Go outside, right? How many times am I going to involve my community and my network into my marriage journey? How many people am I going to tell, hey, I'm looking for marriage. If you have any recommendations, can you refer them to me? Because at some point, you need to actually do the practical work, and you have to do it consistently enough so that you can get married. Right now, lucky for you, you don't have to reinvent a whole system for yourself, because we have an entire system for you in our program. And if you hit that link in the description box, you will see the system that we have for you in our program, that we are we are getting women married left and right. We're getting women engaged, getting women in successful relationships. So if you want to be part of this movement that my husband and I are doing and what we're doing in our business, make sure you do click the link in the description box, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.